Mike Simonson, pretending to be a transient, went to the mission.
What do you want?
You got a place?
Who sent you?
Just cops didn't send me.
Well, you're supposed to sign my face up there.
Just got into town.
From where?
Albuquerque. But there's no place down there.
Last year, our randomly selected Checker Cab Company of Charlotte, the city's second largest with nearly 40 vehicles, and drove for a week with a concealed microphone and a hidden identity. What follows is a cab driver's story from the drivers themselves, many who believe it isn't the cabbie, but the customer that is the dangerous part of the job.
It happens, but it happens in anything, you know. I mean, I don't any of us want to think about it. I don't want to think about getting shot, but...
The SS Edmund Fitzgerald was launched in the summer of 1958. At 729 feet, the largest ore carrier on the Great Lakes and the flagship of the Columbia shipping lines. She would set speed and cargo hauling records with her 7,000-horse steam turbine, pushing her through the Great Lakes at a clip faster than any ore carrier in service. And she would be the last disaster on the Great Lakes, a ship that went down with all hands, without warning, without a distress call, without witnesses, without survivors, and without knowing why. Good evening, I'm Mike Simonson. Welcome to We're Holding Our Own. Good evening, I'm Mike Simonson. Tonight we'll hear the voices of people affected by AIDS. These voices will not sound very different from the voices of your friends and your neighbors and family. In fact, these people could be your friends, neighbors, or family. But you won't know for sure because we're not going to use their names. You see, the stigma that surrounds people with the AIDS virus is as real as the disease itself, and it doesn't stop at the infected person. That stigma is a broad brush that paints friends, family, caregivers, co-workers, anyone associated with the sufferer. Because of this, these people need to remain anonymous or risk losing their jobs, their homes, their friends, even their families. But they'll speak out anyway because they believe it's important their stories be told. Good evening, I'm Mike Simonson. Martin Luther King would have been 65 years old last Saturday. He was ordained as a Baptist minister in 1947. He was a civil rights leader who practiced the teachings of Christ and modeled himself after the nonviolent struggles of Henry Thoreau and Mohandas Gandhi. His methods won him not only the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize, but also respect, love, and hatred, and eventually an assassin's bullet on a Memphis balcony in 1968. Martin Luther King was a cause, a symbol from another time that many would rather never go through again. Martin Luther King took the cue from Rosa Parks, who refused to go to the back of the bus, and marched on. He marched on to Birmingham, to Selma, to Washington. He never visited the Twin Ports or Chequamegon Bay, but his movement was felt here, as was the racial tension of those times. It was the hardest of our growing pains to accept people regardless of their color, their religion, regardless of their stereotypes that we learned as children. Good evening, I'm Mike Simonson. It was a good time for Superior and Duluth. Unemployment is at its lowest point in 10 years as the area pulls out of the Great Depression. National Tea Company Food Store has tomatoes at 49 cents a basket, steaks at 28 cents a pound, and a 2-pound can of coffee for 39 cents. Gamble's is selling tires for $6.95 each, and Kappa's Garage has a 1942 door Plymouth on the lot for $650. WATW Radio in Ashland features Polka Time, Jungle Gym, and Defense of America, while WEBC Radio in Duluth's evening hit is Mr. District Attorney. And in August 1941, the Superior Evening Telegram news staff is Morgan Murphy, Clow Gates, Max Levine, Paul Scampser, and Seagar Swanson. And in their August 23rd edition, a small page 1 story is headlined, Jap Ambassador Says U.S. Dispute Can Be Bridged, with a quote from the ambassador saying it would be folly of the worst kind not to do so. In fact, the front page was full of news of the Nazi advance on the Soviet Union, with Moscow and Leningrad cut off. Only in occasional news briefs are there notes in September issues that read, tension grows as first American tanker reaches Russia. Sending of gas pet peeve of Japan. Nippon capital seized with talk of encirclement by U.S. and Britain. Good evening, I'm Mike Simonson, and welcome to Silence of the Minds. We often make a joke of forgetting something and saying the mind is the first thing to go, or it's the onset of Alzheimer's disease, just a self-deprecating joke. But it's not a joke if you forget and you have a tough time articulating what you're thinking, forget to use nouns in your speech, or have trouble focusing on significant events and the things around you. It's not only not a joke, it could also be the first stage of Alzheimer's disease.
Hello, I'm Jim Packard. Between December 1942 and December 1944, U.S. Army Air Corps fighter pilot Richard Bong shot down 40 enemy aircraft, more than any American pilot in World War II or any United States conflict. This is his story as told by his family, friends, and colleagues.